If anyone wants to connect, you're welcome to. But why don't we?
Houston.
Yeah, exactly. But why don't we do a quick recap from our previous scribe Chomsky, and then we'll jump back in.
Cool. So last game, or last time we met, Lark and I were finishing up crafting an item for Uslag. Um, we spent essentially 2 days doing that. Um, During that time, we ran into Xerxes, had a few conversations with him. We finally finished crafting Uslag's item, which I think we decided she gets to choose today what it was because we didn't want to make that decision for her. And
She
then
chose
we
the
went
great
back to,
sword.
okay, yes.
Yeah.
And then we went back to the mirror. We let the old gnome Hollowhand out, but he almost immediately started melting and turned into a little puddle. And then we, I believe, decided to let the Shatter Kai out. He gave us his name. His name was Civil. After that, we met back up with Zerus and talked with him for a little bit. And then the six of us, Cher, Quince, and Civil, magically transported 20 minutes outside of New Havisgard after Carl crawled into the bag of holding. Um, that went without problem.
There's a little bit
Xerxes,
of
Did
inventory.
I
Yeah.
did I end up going into my ring, or did that not happen?
that did
That
happen.
did
You
happen, yeah.
carried all, you
I
transferred all of
did.
our
We
gold
were
All right,
playing
cool.
into.
people Tetris to get as many people
Yeah,
to the
I
teleport
just
as
needed to make
possible.
sure because I didn't alter that on my resources. So
Yeah. Yes, that did happen as far as I remember, because that's how you got Carl, you got your other NPC, Quince and
Civil,
Shara
Quince, and Shara.
and Civil. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So that's how you
Yeah.
fed all three of them.
Yep. And then Adelaine cast aid on Carl, Uslag, and Lark. So they all still have that bonus going on. We made it to the gates of New Havisgard, where before we got there, Remy disguised us all so we look like not pale skins. Um, Once we got there, they were speaking a goofy language that Shara took care, or she did all the talking for us, pretty much. We
Elvin,
finally get it. Yes, yes. I
goofy
don't know if
Elvin.
Chomsky knows that or not, but yeah. So Shara did a lot of speaking Elvish for us. We got through the gates. As we were standing looking around, Lark noticed that somebody was watching us. Um, and so he went and disappeared to go talk to them, and that's about where we left off. Oh, Remy tripped and fell to create a scene, but he might
Well,
have seriously hurt himself.
also there was a little bit of talking. The woman
Yes,
spoke with Lark for a little bit, and I think we left off during that conversation.
yes.
I don't remember the exact details of what she told you. I think she mentioned she was part of an organization. I don't know if she gave you details though.
yeah,
Yes, yes. I believe she did. That is about where we left off. They just had realized that they could thieves can't to each other.
Oh, that's right. They were thieves canting. All right.
Yes.
So, if I remember, Lark, you were asking her about herself, right?
Something like that. I I remember that we were speaking. I basically went over and said, "Hey, I see that you're checking us out," and she was like, "Yeah, that's a pretty sweet seeming spell that you have." I was like, "That's pretty perceptive of you." We basically just like
Although I think she
gauged
mentioned,
each other.
or sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I think she gave away that she didn't actually see through the seeming spell, just that you had one up.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah. So she doesn't know what you actually look like. So she would bow and say, "It's good to meet you." Did you give her your name?
I didn't yet. So if she
Okay.
sort of hesitates,
So
uh,
yeah, so
go ahead.
she would bow and say, "It's good to meet you, friend. My name is Amira Raylor, and you are
My name is Rail.
well met, Rail. Uh, may I ask where you and your group have come from?"
Well, most recently we've come from the north.
She looks at you curiously. North? What's up north? I didn't think there was anything of value to the north of here other than the mountains. Oh, are you a cultist? She says, looking a little worried.
No, not a cultist. In fact, it was the cultists themselves that we were recently engaged with and have recently dispatched.
Do you mean dispatched?
Well, perhaps this was something that we could speak more of at length in more reasonable accommodations with perhaps more members of this organization that you mentioned.
Well, I myself am a member of the local guild, the Silent Circle. I don't know if you've heard of us.
I have not.
Well, we run a lot of the, a lot of the more, how can I put this?
Delicate operations.
Yes, I like that. Delicate operations within this city. It's always of interest to us when new and unusual people happen about, especially ones claiming to have engaged the cultists. I definitely would like to know more about that.
Remy tries to subtly just like elbow um um God damn it. Lark.
I think.
And just
Well, I think Lark and her are still off to the side a bit. Because remember,
Correct.
oh, I apologize.
yeah,
Yeah.
You're
kinda
right.
over
I'm
here.
so sorry. I forgot that you caught her in the alley. I
Yeah.
apologize.
No worries. But actually, with that, she would say, "Do you have accommodations yet?"
Not yet, no. I believe we were about to set about attending to that. Do you have any recommendations or suggestions?
She says, "Well, if you're looking for something less expensive, there are, of course, the free housing warrens in the west part of town. But if you're looking for something less legal and more luxurious, I, of course, can show you to the, to a place more befitting of people of status."
Very well. Perhaps I will. I can run it by my team, and if we decide one way or the other, then perhaps we will be in touch. Is there a way that I can contact you after this?
I think one thing I think that didn't someone cast a spell so that we could all like link minds?
I think
It wasn't
you
me.
and Lark were talking to each other.
No. We were, but someone
Adeline,
else cast a
Adeline was
spell.
going to, but she didn't because it would have required
Been obvious.
an obvious.
Oh, okay, gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha. So you do still have that mind link with me. I just wanted to let you know.
Yep.
Well, she says, "Do you have, well, I would hope that you have pale coin, if you are people of note, to trade in."
I confess I am unfamiliar with pale coin.
She gives you a really strange look. "You're unfamiliar? Where are you from?"
Not around here, that's for sure. I will take 1 gold out of my pocket and I'll flick it to her.
She says, "Oh, you are from the material plane. I see. That makes some sense. Actually, I don't remember. Did you give her that information last time?
I didn't. I
Okay.
think it was just about where we had left off.
She says, "Well, a coin of this kind could also be used, though it's not often we get visitors from the material planes. Are you and your friends wizards?"
Something like that, yes, or at least some of us are.
Well, I'd be careful about who you told that to. Not everyone in this place looks kindly upon visitors from the material plane, as they're often viewed as troublemakers. But my organization is very open minded, and of course, a coin will open a lot of doorways for you that aren't usually opened within this and other cities of the Empire. Go.
Indeed.
She says, but in any case, do you wish to come with me for better lodgings, or are you going to use the public lodgings within the city?
Before I can decide either way, I must convene with my companions. I was hoping that there might be a way that we could touch base with you later if we chose to.
She nods and says, very well. You also probably will want to speak with the city hall, being that you're not from here and that coin is not generally used. You will probably need to get some sort of paperwork from them to be able to get supplies and live here.
Very well. Is there a place that I can find you later?
She says, sure, I can be around the gate. I was going to meet someone here anyway.
Indeed. Then perhaps we will be in touch.
Good journeys to you.
And you as well. I'll just walk over to the party right from there and relay pretty much everything that I've learned, including her name, the organization that she mentioned, this whole element about free housing versus better accommodations, the lack of use of currency here, and the need for paperwork, apparently.
Forgive me, what was the name of the currency that she mentioned? You said it quickly, I missed it.
Well, she had mentioned pale coin, but she also said that currency is not typically used here.
I am quite curious what this pale coin might be. One must know what is valued to trade, you know?
Alright, so the streets are fairly busy. It's still close to morning within this place. Darkness is pretty much, it's pretty dark around here, though there are guards and other people who have torches and lanterns as they move through the street. What do you all want to do?
Um, I'm of the vote personally. I like the idea of this underground network. I don't think we'll find as many potential contacts anywhere else. It, yes, I think it might be a little more dangerous, but I think these might be our people. My people, at least.
Well, Koresh says, if we're going to go and if we want to, it sounds like we can't spend coin otherwise, so we might want to go with her unless we want to go check out what these free accommodations are, and possibly speak with the city government about bringing people to the north.
Uh, Personally, I would rather not announce to the city that we are from the prime material plane, and I think we might be able to exchange something for some goods. Um, Yes,
I feel like these folks could help us get acclimated a little better to being in this area before we go talk to government officials who might be weary of us.
So, Sister Adelaine thinks for a moment. She says, "Yes, I think it's important to decide if we wish to use the city's accommodations or these. What did you say they were called? These Silent Circle members. Though it sounds like they use currency and other forms of trade that we're more familiar with. I must admit, I'm quite curious how this government works here if they do not use currency. But as one of you stated, the dealing with the government might be dangerous if they think of us as
Lark,
troublemakers.
Lark, did you get the impression that this currency is what is widely used throughout the city, or was it specifically used within the spy group?
I did not ask probing questions about the currency itself. I couldn't rightly say one way or the other. It was the only thing that was clear is that the currency that we do have isn't widely used or used at all, and that, as she mentioned, most things do not run on currency, and at least as far as provisions are concerned.
Would
How does
you
one
just
how does one buy food
would
then? Adelaide says.
Perhaps you are given a specific quantity by which to subsist per unit time. Perhaps they give you some
it
weekly rations or
very
some
well?
such.
Yes, a socialist society is very possible. Would you? Would the group so flatter me in a little experiment? I'd love to go to one of the local shops and see what they have to offer.
Karash would look around. He says, well, I don't see a marketplace. Maybe we have to take a look around the city. There must be some place where food and supplies can be obtained. So what does the group want to do? Do you want to start just looking around, or...
Would that be possible before we decide on either entity? I would love to get a lay of the land.
Uslag would agree.
I think that sounds great, like a great idea. Sorry, Uslag.
It's okay.
All
She
right,
just said she would agree.
so you want to start searching around the city?
I think that would be most ideal.
Which way do you want to go first? East, west? Uh, yeah, like which way do you want to start walking? It looks like the road that you're on goes in several different directions from here.
Someone roll a D4. 1
4.
is to the left, 2 is down, 3
All
is to
right.
the right, and 4 is a reroll. Dude,
Looks like we're
down,
going down.
baby.
All right, so these seem like nice enough areas. You see a bunch of kind of moderate-sized houses with people coming and going. Sometimes several people, several elves leaving from a house. As I said, it's very dark. There are magical, what look like to be light rocks of some sort, possibly. So you have a people with Arcana, right?
Yes.
So you would guess they are continual flame spells, giving small amounts of light in the street.
Uh, I'm sorry. Do we get the impression that, I mean, people were out, guards were out, like because we're it are shops open, or is this like an 8 to 5 time that we're walking around?
So you haven't seen any shops yet. When you get to the southern area of town here, You do notice a couple of buildings that several groups of elves have kind of lined up at, and it looks like they're being given supplies from like a counter at the buildings. Sacks of goods are being handed out. You can't see exactly what's going on because you're at the back of the line right now. But yeah, whatever this area is right here, it looks like it's some place to get supplies. What do you want to do?
I vote on continue wandering.
I
So maybe
would
this is a shop?
agree.
It's hard to say.
Can we walk past, or can at least Remy walk past the line and try to get close to the front and just overhear what is being said?
Yeah, you're gonna just kind of. Are you gonna just walk up? Do you are you trying to be sneaky, or are you just gonna be overt about it?
Uh, he's going to be a little drunk about it. He's just gonna but lie. I can't wait and lie. Who? I need supplies.
So you're gonna act
And
drunk.
just, but he's not gonna get up close. He's not gonna.
You do see there are some guards here keeping watch. They're armed with halberds and what look like spike chains. There are three of
Okay,
them
well
here
then
by
no,
this house.
no,
But if you walked up closer, give me a perception check.
it's not good. Wow, wow.
All right, so you see a couple of elves. Looks like talking to people at the counters. Some sort of scroll or paper is being presented, looked at, and then sacks of supplies are being given out after the paper is marked. And then the people will move on their way, and the next person in line walks up.
I'll act like I see something on the ground and grab it, and then conceal it, and then just walk away and just kind of act like I'm jolly about it.
All right. So you walk back to the group.
Yeah. And I'll explain to them what I just saw. I think there's some sort of uh, an exchange, a paper currency of sorts. Maybe this is our pale coin. Um, I couldn't quite get anything else.
Did you see any coin? Or is it just
I
paper they
cannot.
were looking at?
I only saw paper as far as I could see. No coin was exchanged.
Interesting. Well, it looks like there are several counters. I guess if we want to wait a moment, we could probably go up and ask. It looks like the line's going fairly quickly.
I don't know if talking to these folks is the best idea right now. Maybe we
I,
figure out how this system works before we start making fools of
I'm,
ourselves.
It might be a little odd if we just walked up to them and started asking them how the common system that everyone seems to know how it works is supposed to work. I agree.
yes. Does someone have a piece of paper? Look, you had paper earlier, yes?
Sorry, did you ask if I had a piece of paper?
Yes, I believe I saw you with paper earlier.
I don't think I do actually.
I rip out a page of my from my research book and
Oh, I
hand it
forgot
to
you actually do
Remy.
have someone with you who could answer these questions. So
No, no.
Shara would say, "Oh yes, so the citizens of most of these cities are given allowances that they can use to get supplies. Those who come in can trade with the city itself, but it's not trading is sometimes done privately, but they don't actually use gold pieces like some of the other cities do. At least not here, or pale coin as that woman put it, Emira. I
Might
think
you know where we could go that would not be supplying, not that, staples, things of more rare quality? Can you guide us into that district?
she says, "Well, I think trading happens among citizens sometimes. I know I sometimes trade with the temple or the city hall, the temple of the Raven Queen. I also trade with people. Let's see, where was that place? Goods for Goods. I think somewhere to the south. There's an area where people can trade, or of course you can go do some more, do some of that illegal trading they were talking about." She says, "Do you want me to lead you to the open market area? Or do you want to go speak with the temple about getting supplies and registered with the town?" She says, "The government as well as the church is heavily. Well, the two are kind of intertwined, the Church of the Raven Queen and the government of this town, and they reside in a large temple in the middle of this town, the same place the relic is kept and buried."
Oh, yes, one must be careful of governments that tie themselves to religions. I personally think that we should head to the trading area.
She says,
But I'm only one vote in this
"Well,
group.
the trading area mostly has extra foods and other supplies. I don't know if they'll have anything that any of you would be interested in, but I guess we could
The
always check."
black market it is. Ah, you should have said it earlier. Excellent. But like I said, I must ask my fellow compatriots, what say we?
"Well, what were we here for?" Koresh says. "We were here to talk to people about the fort. Who are we going to talk to about the fort? That seems like it should be our first priority."
Forgive me. I guess I got distracted.
He kind of looks at Lark and Sister Adelaine, who are kind of leading this expedition, I think.
They have them, yes.
Who was this that looked over Koresh?
Koresh, yeah. He says, what are we, I guess, what is our purpose here? Are we going to speak with the town? Are we going to try to seek out those friends of Civil? I would guess if they are anywhere, it would be within the black market. I suppose there's a choice to be made. Do we tell the city of the fort, or do we go to the black market and tell someone else? Or do we tell both?" He says, I don't really know. I'm not sure what the best move is here.
I would say that I could go either way. I think, frankly, well, perhaps it would be best if we informed those who are actually in charge. I do not think it would do to make ourselves enemies of the state in a plane that we are barely acquainted with. Certainly, I do think that this other organization that we've been introduced to could help us make accommodations and things like this. But when it comes to who should know about the state of the fort, I maintain that it should probably be those who actually hold authority over the city.
Yes, I think I would agree with that, Koresh says. Though I believe that if we do tell the state, city government, whatever they would call this place, they will most likely try to confiscate it. We do have to make some sort of decision, as we can't just, you know, we can't only have ourselves be taking this fort, because it will probably be taken back by the cultists at some point without allies. So yes, maybe the state is the best decision.
I hate to disagree personally. Being one, my business is the state. I do love to listen and pry and gather information. I if there is an underground network here that is strong and prolific, I think that is a result, a representation of some sort of
Of
ruling
the state
party
of the state.
conflict.
But
I feel I only worry that if we go to the state that is our checkmate move, if we go to the underground, we always have the potential to go back to the state. That is what I that is I it that's all.
Quinn says, well, I hate to be seen agreeing with the crazy one, but I think he makes a good point. I don't know if I want to give up our fort to the state, and most likely, if we speak to them, they will take it. I almost wonder if there is a second option, maybe a more mercenary option, where we can keep control of the fort, but have allies to help us protect it that aren't of the state. I, d-
Who
I
who
don't
have their allegiance to us, my dear.
I don't know if I agree with that, Koresh says. I think a more solid ally would be the government itself. Even if we lose control of
We
the fort,
assume sorry.
he says, even if we lose control of the fort, at least we know it won't fall back into their hands. And do we really need this fort as a resource? Quince, I know you think it would be a good idea to keep it, but it seems like a lot to manage.
I think we should explore the town and get to know it a little better before we make a decision. We've barely been here for 20 minutes and or an hour or 2 hours, however long we've been here. We've barely been here. We don't know much about the state of politics
Hmm.
in this state.
Well, the small
I
one.
Quite frankly, I found some interesting things in black markets before.
The small one makes a good point. There's no harm in looking around a bit more. It's not like the cultists are going to be back right away. At least we hope not. Shouldn't take too long, though. Especially if it's going to take us 3 days to get forces back there. We never know where the cultists are, or how far away their reinforcements are. Alright,
Or how
so.
well hidden they are within the city.
Sorry, what?
Or how well hidden they are within the city.
Good point, Uslog. They could have contacts here that are watching. Maybe that's a reason to stay away from the black market. Because if there are cultist spies here, I can guarantee they would be there.
Well, I was thinking more the fancy place of the politics. But
Maybe.
just me.
I suppose, yes, they could have spies within the church as well. Who
We have
knows?
8 hours with our disguises, and though some of them may be able to see through it, they do not know who we are. We have 8 hours. I say we utilize it, and then find a place to sleep. Uh, I must ask Lark. I know that this may be against what you wanted to do. Can you see the benefit in pursuing the black market?
You don't need to convince me. I'm not the one who has issue with getting their hands dirty. Certainly, I've done it in the past. That is sort of my whole existence back on the material plane. So, if that is what we choose to do, I will not be the one to gripe about it.
We may have more in common than I thought. To the black market. Yeah.
So Adelaine seems a little bit uneasy with that. She says, I think. I don't know. I think it would be smarter to get the state involved. We're less likely to get a knife in the back. At least if we lose the fort to the state, it will be for the good of the people rather than the good of some underground mercenary guild. Just be trading
I must
cultists for a black market thieves guild. I don't know if that's
I
better.
must say that you assume that this central power government is uh, benevolent, at least benevolent, possibly. Uh, I don't know if I trust them that far yet. We are in the Shadow Plane after all. Shadowfell. I think we should go to the black market. Let's see the worst parts. In quotation marks.
I'm not necessarily against speaking to people, but I think we should keep word of the fort and maybe what happened silent for now. If forces were to find out that the fort has been conquered, then they might send people to gain power there, or steal from it, or do any number of things that we don't want to happen.
But of course, that is our powerful information. You
Yes,
forget I trade information. That is
as I'm
beautiful.
sure many of these people do as well. So, if we are keeping our mouths shut about the fort, then I can agree to the black market. And Koresh nods. He says, "All right, might be nice to stay someplace luxurious for a change. I'm not one for the finer points of society, but it's been a while since I've been in a city with any option of luxury." He sort of looks to Uslag. He says, "I imagine, as a barbarian, you are in a similar boat."
Yeah, except that that's where I'm most comfortable.
In a
That boat.
luxurious city?
Oh no. Uh, without the luxurious city.
Ah, in the wilds, like myself. He says, yes, but it's nice to have a bath every now and then. He kind of laughs at himself. So,
Oh yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
I was just no nothing.
All right, so who do we see about this black market? He says a little bit louder than he probably should have.
As he says that, I'd like to just glance around to see if any passersby have taken note of that loud announcement.
So most of the people nearby are on the supply lines. People are talking. Some of them are looking through the sacks they have just obtained. It doesn't seem like many of them are paying close attention to what your group is doing.
Great.
What do you want to do?
Lark, I think you're the only one who spoke with the contact. I definitely don't speak whatever language you're talking. However, I can locate the person. I believe Adelaine might be able to even contact them. But that's all I can do.
We haven't moved, right? We're still in the... No, we did move.
You're
Okay.
still near the supplies, the
Right.
supply house, or one of them anyway.
Well, she did say that she would be near the gate, so if we'd like to take her up on her offer to introduce us to her organization or to get us accommodations or so, we can probably find her back where she was.
Lead the way.
Hey, friends! A familiar face suddenly walks up smiling. He's like, "Here you all are. It's good to see you again."
Is this the one that we released from the mirror?
Yes.
Yes.
Sybil.
Yeah.
He says, "I thought you'd be waiting by the gate, but I guess it makes sense that you'd want to look around. Apologies for the sudden disappearance. I had to take the long way around to get into town."
Excuse me, how did you see through my amazing abilities? How did you even know it was us?
He says,
I'm genuinely curious. Look at me. I need to know how you did it.
I saw you cast the spell."
Oh, I guess I did. Yes, okay. Yep, alright. Yep, lovely.
he
Yep,
gives you
backdoor entrance.
a
Got
smile
it.
and says, yes, I actually did watch you all go in. I wanted to make sure that you got in before I found my way into town. But yes, I saw the disguises you put on with your spell, even if I wasn't with you. Well, even if I wasn't obviously with you when you cast it. Shara, looking good. Quince, everyone. I heard something of a black market. Is that where we're going? Something about the black market.
Oh yes, pretty please. It was my vote. I'm still waiting on everyone else to get on board. Please.
A lovely place. I would be happy to. Wait, how did you all know where the black market is so quickly? Already getting into trouble.
Calm
Trouble
yourself.
is Carl's middle name.
Well, I can show you how to get there. Did you have another way of finding it that you haven't told me? Do you know more about this city than you let on?
What do you know of the Silent Circle members?
Oh, someone's been chatting. He smiles. He says, "Yes,
I mean,
the silent circle is." He kind of looks around to make sure no one's listening. The silent circle is the. It would be. It's a thief organization. It's a lot of. It's how a lot of illegal trading happens under the nose of the government in secret. There are several different ways one accesses the. Some call it the. I guess you'd call it the black market or the shadow market, as some call it as well. But yes, I can show you how to get there, unless you are. Unless you've already spoken to someone who can get you in.
I just look around the group, silently looking at everyone in their eyes.
I don't know any way to get in.
But yes, the silent circle are the keepers of the shadow market.
I think you are our safest bet, considering you do owe us a great deal for releasing you from your prison. Um,
Of
I think that
course.
goes unsaid, though. So yes,
Actually, sorry, go ahead.
I trust you most of all.
Well, I was
Yes.
going to take you there anyway, as that's where you would have to go to meet my friends. I assume you're still interested in the Midnight Pyre.
Who doesn't love a party?
Alright, well, follow me then. And I assume you're following him as he leads you down the street.
Yes,
Sure.
yes.
For me, is.
So he leads you kind of off to the side here, where
Can I use a bonus action while we're walking just to establish a mental connection with him?
with Civil,
Yes.
yeah, he doesn't have to agree to it or anything.
Nope.
Uh,
I can just basically start accosting him.
yeah, sure, that's fine. So he would lead you down this way towards a mine shaft. You would see there are a couple of Shatterkai there who are talking. As he approaches, they kind of get up and walk over, and they start speaking in Elven.
What do they say?
So they say, "Can I see? Can I see your card, friend?" And Sybil says, "My card. I must have left it back at my house. But as usual, hang on, what was it?
Is it a single guard? Multiple guards?
There are multiple guards there. He says, but as usual, the midnight calls, and I must answer. The guy looks at him for a second and nods and says, as we must all answer. And he walks past, motioning for all of you to follow as he goes into the mine. I assume you're following him.
Remy is. Oh, yeah, Remy's right on his ass there. All right, let's go, partay.
Gnome's following him.
All right, so he leads you into the mine where you do hear what sounds like miners working somewhere farther down. He walks in a short ways, walks up to one of the walls, and then steps right through it.
I must say, I do love these secret clubs. And then I'll just put my hand through and go through.
All right, so you follow him in. Inside, you see two Shatter Kai kind of standing there talking as he walks in. They look at him and give him a nod. One of them says to him in Elven, who are these people? And he says, they are friends of the organization. I, of course, take responsibility for their actions. And he nods and says, you can go. And you see a stairwell going down. As he's going down the stairs, he says, all right, make sure there's no weapon drawing, no fighting, no spell casting. Don't cause any trouble while we're down here. As you're going down the stairs, which feels like they go on for quite a while, you can start to hear voices, which get a little bit louder. And as you get to the bottom, the hallway or the stairwell goes into a hallway that opens up into what looks like to be a larger hall. Does anyone have history?
I do.
Give me, well, if you have history, you might have some insight here on something. This structure looks dwarven to you. The design of these halls look dwarven. You can't place the cycle or the exact style, but it doesn't look like something a Shatter Kai or elf might make.
Okay.
I have a question real quick. So, is the Shadowfell also, I guess, like time-wise, gauged by the cycles on the material plane?
No, because the cycles don't actually happen here. They have a different calendar.
So then it's weird to see a material plane piece in the Shadowfell
It
based on a
would
cycle that you normally would see in the material plane.
It would definitely be weird, like maybe the dwarves were either brought here at some point, or maybe there was a dwarven colony here at some point. But I mean, do you have history?
No, I do not, and I apologize.
So,
I didn't. I don't know this. I just don't know that much about the actual lore, so I wasn't sure if there was something I was missing.
it would seem a little weird to those with history, probably. If you knew more about the Shadowfell and this place, it might make more sense as to who may have built this. But it definitely doesn't look similar to the other structures you've seen. Though I guess you haven't seen many below ground structures in the Shadowfell. But anyway, this place is filled with people, mostly Shatter Kai, though you do see the odd race here and there that is not Shatter Kai. There's probably about 50 or 60 people down here talking. It looks like there are tables set up, drinks being poured, and generally like some gambling and people hanging out, having fun. Some trading is happening with strange looking coins that you probably don't recognize. Civil kind of gives you a smile and a bow as he introduces this place to you all. And he says, it's good to be back. I need a drink. Don't get into any trouble. I'll be back in a bit. And he walks over towards one of the counters. What do you all want to do?
As we're in, so how close are we to the other people who are down here? Are they like, are we pretty well mingled with them, or are we at like a distance from them?
So you do have to kind of walk between them as you go through this place to the different stalls and like areas where different things are happening. It's not that crowded that you're like pushing past people, but I mean there's a good amount of people down here.
Okay. As we're passing by some people, I would just like
You do
to take.
also, sorry to interrupt, you do also see a bunch of doors, and it looks like the hallway does turn up ahead. Like the hall kind of narrows into a hallway, which goes into possibly different parts of this place.
Okay. As we're walking by some people, I'd just like to, when it is convenient and inconspicuous to do so, I would just like to see if anybody else has a tattoo on their neck, on the back of their neck, like Sybil does.
All right, give me a perception check as you begin to look around.
Get a
Oh. Uh, you don't see anyone with a tattoo. You. What would you notice with a 25? You notice there are a couple of people playing dice, and you think one of them is cheating. I'll say you notice that with a 25. But in the immediate area, you don't notice anyone with a marking like your friend Sybil.
Okay.
So yeah, what do you all want to do? It does look like there are things for sale down here, but you don't know if you have the coin that they're trading.
what
I would be
do
looking for people who look like crafters.
Okay. So you're just going to start kind of walking around, looking in areas for someone who might
Yeah, and
be a
looking at
crafter.
interesting magical items, or yeah, but mostly looking for people
There,
who are crafters.
yeah, there are a bunch of kind of stalls down here as well. So you do see one of these Shatter Kai is selling a bunch of weaponry that looks like it might be dark steel.
I wouldn't mind walking over to him.
All right. So he kind of looks down at you and says, "Greetings, friend. What can I do for you?"
Uh, what sort of items do you have here?
He says, "Well, as you can see, I specialize in instruments of war and defensive armors. Is there something in particular you are looking for?"
Not me in particular. I do have some of these uh metal ingots, and I'm wondering what I can do with them. If you have any ideas of
You take
what can be done with these?
you taking one of them out?
Sure.
So he says,
I'm gonna.
yes, dark steel. Well, you can forge things with them. I can buy them off you if they're weighing down your backpack."
What sort of unique properties do you get with forging things out of them? Like if I were to make a sword or some sort of armor with them, what could I do with that? How would I go about that?
He says, "Well, I mean, same way you would forge anything else. The forge would be heated, melt it down, or you'd have to melt it down, and you could create various armors and weapons out of it."
Does this have any interesting properties to do these weapons have any interesting properties to them?
He says, "Well, the metal itself is very hard, more so than iron generally. Uh, as for special properties, I don't really know what you mean. And he looks at you kind of curiously as if he's a little confused. As compared to what?
Uh, as compared to raw iron, you mentioned iron before, and so this metal is super hard, so it makes really durable. What about infusing magic? Is it more difficult, easier to infuse magic into these sort of items?
Says, well, certain enchantments definitely play better off dark steel. I mean, I'm not an enchanter, but I know that wizards often trade with me for specialty items. Um, I am not actually the one that makes most of my arms and armor. I'm just the one who sells it.
Uh, and what type of coin do you take here?
Well, pale coin, of course. He kind of gives you a funny look. You do have coin, don't you?
I don't have pale coin, but I do have coin. And I pull out a gold piece and flick it to him.
Ooh.
He looks at it. He looks at you. He says, "Did someone trade this to you?"
Yes, yes. Uh, I traded some items, and this is all they had to pay me with. I recently lost all of my pale coin.
Give me a deception. He says, "Well, some of the people down here might take this. I unfortunately am only trading in pale coin, but if you can get someone to convert, I would be happy to do business with you."
And do you know who know, would you be able to point me towards people who are crafting these items for you?
Give me a persuasion check.
Man,
Ooh,
I'm getting
baby.
lucky. I'm getting lucky.
He says, "Well, I generally bring my wares in from the south. I have a smith down there who I buy from wholesale and kind of sell up in some of these different towns in the marketplace, usually down below."
Well, thank you for your time. I'm gonna be moving on.
He says, "Yes, if you get some pal coin, I'd be happy to trade with you."
Thank you.
All right. So what about Uslog? What's Uslog doing as he's
Um,
over there talking to this merchant?
she's probably just trying to look inconspicuous, um,
Just
as
waiting.
much as possible.
All right.
Yeah.
So standing there, she is in disguise, so she does look like a Shadowkai. What about Lark?
Well, I'm probably just on the lookout for anything that seems out of the ordinary. Just trying to survey the area and keep my head on a swivel.
All right. What about Remy?
Remy would immediately notice the people who are playing dice.
Yeah.
And like a fucking bug to a light bulb, he literally walks over there. While he's doing it, he's pulling the dice out of his pocket. He has proficiency and dice set, and he will immediately approach them and just be, care for another.
They kind of look up at you and they say, uh, yeah, I suppose. Do you have some money to wager?
I
Throw your pale coin in,
have,
sir. We're starting at 10.
um, who is the one who's saying that to me?
Just one of the Shatterkai there. He didn't give you his
I
name.
look at him, I use my bonus action to create a mind link with him, and then I cast uh modify memory. Oh, yes, I spend 5 sorcery points
Whoa.
and cast Modify Memory with 0 material, somatic, or verbal components. And I modify his memory currently to where he owes me, and he owes me a lot. And he's going to cover me for as long as I want to pay. Otherwise, things will not go well for his health or his family. Um, and because I have the mental connection, I can say all of that verbally, and there's no verbal, somatic, or material. So he can make I believe he can make, yeah, he has to make a wisdom saving throw to be able to resist it. And that is DC 17 wisdom saving throw. I spent 5 sorcery points doing that. I will remove them currently. And if I start to notice that he succeeds, I will use my reaction to cast Silvery Barbs to give him disadvantage.
I'll have to give him a reroll, but yeah.
Only if he passes. Only if
So
he passes.
you know that these are all elves, and this is a
I
charm
literally
effect.
tell him no. I let him know, like in his I let him know. Obviously they're speaking Elvish. I realize this.
Well, no, he spoke to you in
We had
common, but you would know that elves generally do have advantage on these sort of saves. I'm just telling you because you know this before you tried
oh
it, but
okay
you can
okay
still
okay.
do it. I'm just saying that at least
That's fine.
he'd
I'm still
be
gonna do it.
okay. So you look at him. There is a flash as you do your spell. He's gonna
Nope,
get
no flash. There's no verbal, somatic, or material.
more in his mind.
Oh, okay, cool.
Let's see. So wisdom save. So he got a 16. What's your DC?
Nope. DC 17, baby.
All right. So on a failed save, he kind of looks at you strangely, and he just sits there. So incapacitated, he kind of looks a little bit funny, and they're all looking at him as he goes quiet.
I only need 6 seconds, and then he shakes it off. He's like, "Yeah, I totally know you. Yeah, I got you."
Let's see. So, what event did he experience within the last 24 hours that lasted no more than 10 minutes?
He realized that we played a game last night, and he lost terribly. And I said, instead of me taking your wife and kids, you just have me as my buy-in for the next several games that I decide.
So, the game he played was to lose his family?
No, of course not. But it was like he was like
Or he
very
just
much in
owes you
debt with
money?
me, and yeah, he was very much in debt with
Alright.
me, and he owes me a lot of money. And I decided instead of taking money, I'll take a favor, or I'll take him like buying me in.
Alright,
And so
so
this is the result of that.
there was 10 minutes of a game that he lost and owed you a bunch of money.
Dramatically. In a
How...
private club that no one else was around. None of these
Alright.
people, none of these people are around. I just don't want them to be able. I just don't want them to be able to like counteract the story. None of these guys were there. It was a crazy night. Don't know how I got there. It was wild. Lost a lot of money.
An illogical
That's all.
modified memory on how the creature
And you
is
can make it
dismissed,
permanent.
perhaps as
You
a
can make
bad
it
dream.
permanent.
So are you saying you were just in like a fantasy place that he wouldn't not necessarily remember, or was
No,
it?
I'm saying he got drunk last night, and then he ended up at a place playing a game. He lost a lot of money. Instead of like literally
All right.
taking the clothes off of
So
his back,
what
I
what
decided to have him just front me,
what
and
place
this
was
is him
that?
fronting me.
Are you just gonna try to create like a random location in his head that he might not remember, or do you want to just like use this place?
I don't want to use this place. I want to use somewhere else in the town that he could not remember. He was so drunk he couldn't remember, but it was somewhere around over there. That's what he's
All
gonna
right.
remember.
So was it
He was
like?
just so drunk.
So are you gonna
It's not
try
a
to?
specific place.
All right. Well, you're putting this memory into his head.
Uh huh.
So was this like
Uh-huh.
up? So you're just making up a place that might not actually exist.
Uh, no, I'm not making up a place. I'm making up a void of a place. He does not remember. What he remembers is that he was drunk, and now he's assuming the reason why he doesn't remember is because he was drunk. He remembers being drunk, and
All
then it's
right.
void where he was at.
And how much money are you going to say he owes you in this memory?
Enough to where he's very nervous. There isn't a final amount. He doesn't even know. He was drunk. He was blackout. He's nervous, and he knows that he just needs to.
This is a very
Yeah, I
strange
got you, man.
memory. He
Yeah, I know.
remembers very specifically that.
He's very blackout. He's very blackout.
All right. So I'll say. All right. So he owes you some money. He says, "Oh, yeah. I guess I could spot you for a game. That's fine." And he puts in
I just wink at him.
10 gold. Go ahead and give me a check with your dice.
Uh, what is the modifier?
You could probably use, I'd say, Enter Wisdom, unless you think a different modifier would make sense.
I mean, I'd love charisma, but
I don't know if Charisma
or
would help you with
dexterity?
dice. I'm willing to do Dexterity.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I've done this before. I'm proficient. Like,
I mean, you're not
yeah,
cheating or anything, right?
not right now.
All right, so Remy would start rolling dice. As this is happening, you see Chomsky sort of come back from the merchant. You see Civil is sitting at a bar, drinking and talking to someone. Do the rest of you or anyone else want to do anything while Remy and Civil are doing these things?
The only thing I would want to do is find somebody to trade my gold for some pale coin.
All right, so you want to start asking around about trading your gold for pale coin?
Yes. Is there, or before asking, I would look around to see if there's anybody who is running a currency exchange.
I mean, you see a bunch of stalls, and you see like a bar area. There's a stage where you see a bard kind of playing music. Of course, you see Remy gambling with these guys who somehow got some pale coin. You're not sure what the hell's going on over there. But yeah, you don't see anything in the immediate area. You could try to go deeper in or try one of the doors if you want to look further into this place.
Uh, I guess I'll just walk to one of the stalls and ask if they know of anybody who can exchange coin.
So there's another person there who I guess you just walk up to one of the stalls. You see someone with a bunch of jewelry that they have on display. Looks like he has a couple of large, well, maybe not large, but a couple of armed guards with him. He looks down at you and says, something nice for your lady.
Uh, I am more looking to exchange coin. I recently sold some gifts and they paid in these weird gold.
Give me a persuasion check.
There we go. That's the one I was expecting.
Says, get lost.
Very well. I get lost.
All right. So you're going to walk around asking more people?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So most of these people seem disinterested in trading and fairly disinterested in trying to help you get your money exchanged. As you are talking to people, a figure approaches you. And he says, you seem to be looking for pale coin, my friend. I've noticed the currency you're using is, well, it's very special, I'll say that. Perhaps I can
Danger
help you.
zone.
He says, my name is Ruvain. Ruvain Severus, and he bows.
Ruvain.
Yes,
Oh,
perhaps I can help you get some pale coin.
I would greatly appreciate that.
He says, why don't you come with me, and I will bring you to a place where an exchange can happen.
Oh, how far is this place?
Yeah.
Do I still look like a child?
That's a good point. You're walking
It's for
around as
8 hours.
a little kid, aren't you?
Yes.
So you know what? I'm going to say Ruvain did not approach you because
Okay.
you look like a little kid. No one's taking you seriously. So yeah,
I just want some pale coin.
people are just looking at you like, what the fuck is this kid doing down here, and telling you to get lost.
All right. Then I guess I'm gonna give up and go back to the party
All right.
and say sorry, no luck. But I was told there was somebody down here who might be able to help with the exchange of gold pieces to pale coin. They just don't like kids, apparently.
All right. So Remy, you've made some money with your dicing. I'll say you've made a total of 20 pale coin, rolling
Fuck
dice
yeah,
for
I
a couple of
did.
minutes. Doing pretty good.
Is that is that like gold, silver, copper, or is it just like 120 pale coin?
You can just put 20. I mean, it is basically gold. The coins are gold, but they just don't look as shiny
Gotcha.
as gold. But yeah, you made about 20 of them. As you are sitting there, a familiar voice says, oh, wait, no, never mind. It wouldn't be a familiar voice. You would notice as you're
Better
sitting there.
fucking not be, because I have issues with the only familiar voice that I've had. We about to fucking. She tortured me. That's the only one. Sorry, I'm not sure if y'all remembered. Anyway,
No, it's
back to
yeah, so it's never mind. You would not hear a familiar voice. However, you would see a familiar person. In fact, it is the woman who tortured you, standing nearby, speaking with three other
you
individuals.
fucking asshole. Duh. Well, yeah, she's not like
She
people
doesn't.
aren't worried about seeing a woman like that out on the streets.
Oh no, there are way shadier figures down here than her. But she's talking to three other individuals. Obviously, she hasn't noticed you because you have your disguise on. But you would notice her as you're playing dice.
So I needed 10 minutes to complete the spell and make it permanent. I believe. No, 1 minute. I needed 1 minute. So that I can no longer concentrate on that. I've achieved that 1 minute, is that correct? Yes.
Let's see.
1 minute. I definitely have. If I've won 10 gold, no one wins 10 fucking shadow gold in 1 minute. A pale coin.
Yeah, sure. You've finished that.
Party. Um, I am going to use my bonus action to make a mental connection with Lark. And I'm going to say to him, I'm winning. However, I've now seen the woman who carved into my skin like 5 to 10 feet away from me. I love um advice because I might do something stupid.
All right.
And I will hold. Can I hold my action? I can hold my action.
Well,
If
there isn't
she
really such a thing as holding or readying actions outside of combat.
okay,
You
fair
just
enough.
sort of do things.
I'll watch her and I'll continue playing dice.
So you start
Kind of
keep.
trembling, probably playing a little worse, like kind of like uncomfortable,
All right,
unhinged.
give me another dice check at disadvantage, as you're starting to get a little
Absolutely.
freaked out. Uh,
Oh yeah, totally.
are you trying to make it obvious that, or you're not trying to obviously watch her, right? You're trying to hide that.
Oh yeah, I'm not. I'm playing dice at the moment. I'm still trying to win money, but I'm like trying
So
to
just
kind of
like kind of glance up every now and then and see what
yeah,
she's
yeah,
doing. All right.
glance over. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And if I sense that I fail, I will use my reaction to cast silvery barbs. So if I
So
do,
casting that will make obvious.
nope, no, I will spend a single spell point, and it requires no verbal, somatic, or material components
All right.
because I'm an aberrant mind.
So how many of those do you have left? Because you used 5, right?
I did, and I start off with 9. So if I use that, I'm down to 3.
All right. So
So I assume that means that I failed. That
well, I
because
mean,
I
so
it
you're
says when you see someone that fails, so and you can use that on yourself. So it's weird, I know, but it's like if
I
I
don't.
sense that I fail,
So
then
I
I can
think
use it.
so. The triggering conditions for Silvery Barb is actually when you succeed on an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw.
Right, but
I don't think you
you
can cast it as a reaction in response to failing something.
yeah, I and plus so also the way the dice work, I'm just kind of
oh
rolling for a bunch of them. So I don't know if there's like a fail. I'm just kind of going with who has the higher rolls. Which so far it's been you with the 14 the last round. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure how that would work with multiple people all making checks. So it might not be viable in this situation just because.
oh my God, you're so right. No, he's so right. I totally thought I could use it on succeed and fail. No, it is only a succeed in the counteraction. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think you could use it for this necessarily. But yeah, unfortunately for this round, with the disadvantage, you would have lost 3 of your pale coins with these dice rolls.
That's fine.
So Lark, do you react at all when he says he sees that woman?
I was having a little bit of a hard time hearing only because my dogs were freaking out because my brother got home. But it sounded you basically told me that you saw her and that you were about to do something rash. Is
I
that right?
said, yeah, I was basically asking for your advice. That's the woman. I basically said like that's the woman who was responsible for like
The torture.
Right.
And
fucking me up.
actually, if you look over now, you would see her as well. It looks like she is talking with several individuals, kind of off near the bar area. Actually, kind of near where Civil is.
Okay. And the individuals that she's speaking to, how do they appear?
So they are Shatter Kai. You don't recognize them. You don't think you've met them before. They seem like they are armed with blades and leather armor. But yeah, there's no distinguishing, like, no tattoos in the back of their necks or anything like that.
Okay. And I can respond mentally to Remy. That's correct?
Yes,
Yes.
correct.
Okay. I'll respond and I'll say, if you are looking for advice, I would suggest doing nothing. We've been explicitly told not to do any sort of aggression or magic casting while we're down here. So if you are asking whether or not you should do anything to this woman, I would suggest doing nothing at all if you don't think that it can be something civil. And as I am making this reply, I will walk over to where I see Civil.
Okay, and actually, now that Lark is walking over there, Chomsky, you and Uslag would both see this mysterious woman from back in the fort is over there. You both notice her now. Obviously, she doesn't notice any of you because you don't look anything like you did back then.
Uslag, I think we know her. I don't remember from where, but I think we know her.
Oh yeah, I remember her. She's Remy's old friend.
Oh, maybe we should reconnect them.
Uh,
If they're friends.
I don't think. Oh, I don't think they're good friends. I think we should
Uh,
just go check in with Remy maybe about this. See what he thinks.
okay.
Uslog, you definitely heard my my raving moments of like insanity. Like
Yeah.
you heard them
Yeah. I didn't really mean friends.
for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So, Lark, you walk over to Civil, who is sitting at the bar. He says, "Oh, Lark, hello."
Hello.
Or wait, sorry. What was the name that you were going by?
Rail.
He says, well, I don't know if you actually told him that. So he would say, I guess he would just nod at you because he doesn't know what name you're going by here.
Okay. I'll just walk up to him and I'll say, well, because when he left us, he said he was going to be back in a minute.
Yeah, he said, I need a drink. And then he went off to get a drink.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah. So I'll just walk up to him and I will say, I'll ask him, what sort of drink are you having? And is it a sort of drink that you would recommend for me?
He says, it's known as dusk wine. And it seems like it is kind of a darker looking red wine. He says, it's one of my favorites, and yes, I would definitely recommend it if you've never had one.
I would love to have one. Does it require that I have pale coin? Because, as you know, I do not.
He says, bartender, dusk wine for my friend here, and he slips him a pale coin. And the bartender nods and pours you a glass of pale wine. Or
Wait.
dusk
So
wine.
is it one? Is it one gold pale coin for a beer and
Uh,
tip?
well, for this wine, he gives the bartender a gold coin. You don't know if that's for tip
Okay,
on the wine, but maybe. The bartender would
for
nod and
sure.
pour you a glass, give it to you. And he says, how are you all doing? Having fun in the lower markets?
So far, well, I don't know if fun is necessarily the right word, but it is an adventure. I am having as good a time as any other time, I suppose.
He's speaking common, by the way, right now.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Then yeah, I'll respond in common.
He says, I promise I won't take long. I just wanted to have a drink, and then we'll go meet with my friends. I just,
Very well.
I needed to have a drink. It's been too long.
I do not believe we are in a rush. I do have one question though. Do you know that lady over there? She looks interesting.
He looks over. He says, he says, he says, I do know her. You're talking about, where did it go? Just had it open. You're talking about Nyara Frost.
Nara Frost. Is she one of your associates?
No, she's well, she's kind of a crazy person. I know her. Where do I know her from? Actually, he wouldn't call her a crazy person. He says she is. Just want to make sure I get these names right. She's one of the captains, or at least was a captain within the army a while back. The Empire, what is it called? The Vidian Empire army. She was, well, she's no longer there because of some questionable things she did, but she has a lot of friends within the underworld now. Not the best person. Quite dangerous from what I have heard.
Indeed, so you might say she has something less than a favourable reputation.
Yes, she's, and he keeps his voice down. She is rumored to be a bit mad in some ways, and she's fairly well trained and powerful in terms of her fighting abilities, as well as some magic abilities too, from what I remember. This is why. Do you know her?
No, she just looks, as I said, unusual. It's not every day you see somebody who carries themselves like that.
Yeah, there's rumors that some sort of magic messed with her mental abilities. So some people say she's not all there. But as I said, very powerful, not someone you want to make enemies with. Why? Just you were just noticing her?
Quite so. I just like to know what I can know about as many people as I can know them about. You can never be too well informed.
Says that is true. Well, what do you think of the dusk wine?
It's quite good, actually. I typically prefer, well, I don't know what you would call it down here necessarily, but I typically prefer things along the lines of Scotch and bourbon. But in terms of wine, this is probably one of the more agreeable ones that I've had.
You notice that the flavor is a bit muted, but it has kind of a weird spicy taste to it. You're not sure if you like it or not, but it's interesting for sure.
Very well.
He says it's a bit of an acquired taste, but I enjoy it. All right, so are we ready to go meet some of my friends?
Well, one of my companions is playing a bit of dice at the moment, but I believe when he's done doing that, we may then set about to meeting your friends. Yes, I do have one question though. What is the local take on playing against the rules? It just so happens that one of those gentlemen there is doing just such a thing. I don't think that my friend is, but I do think that one of them are.
He looks over. He says, "The dice players?"
Indeed.
Oh, well, I mean, it's a good way to get yourself knifed if you are playing against the wrong person, so I would recommend doing it, but, you know, if you can get away with it, sure, why not? He takes a sip of his wine. Remy, give me another dice set check with disadvantage, as you're still kind of on edge.
Okay. Rude.
Rude. Alright.
And, oh, God damn it. If I see my... Oh, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
So,
It's succeed only. Sorry.
So you lose, but not too bad. You only lose another 2 coin, and you kind of curses that God's damn.
I get up. I'm done. I decide
just
that
flip the
I have
fucking
made...
table.
No,
I'm
He
just
doesn't
kidding.
do that. He doesn't draw attention. He says, and boys, it's been lovely. However, I think I will leave while I'm still in the positive. And I look over to the guy that I look at and I say, who owes me, and I say, see you soon. Um, yes.
He
And then I'll just turn
nods.
around and walk away.
All right. So where are you walking to? You see that your companions are all.
I walk back to Usalag, and because I realized that that one of our compatriots is in like kind of a serious Lark is in a serious conversation. So I walk back to Noam Chomsky,
So
um,
you see.
straddling.
You see that all of them are at the bar now, because they walked over. They are standing kind of close to Frost. Do you want to walk over there near them, or are you going to stay away for now?
I will do a wide berth, and if she's on one side of them, I will go. If I have to go to the bathroom to make it not unusual, I will end up on the absolute opposite side of them and just be clenching my fists underneath uh, the bar top.
All right. So Uslag and Chomsky, you said you were walking over to where Lark is as well.
Yes.
Sure, yeah.
All right. So you walk over there. You're all kind of hanging out. You would see that Remy finishes his game, looking a little bit distressed. He takes the long way over and comes and stands next to you all. Civil would finish his wine and say, well, if you are all ready, we can get going. But if there's something else you need to do, I can wait a moment.
Remy is to the point where he's almost drawing blood from his clenching in his fists and his palms. He doesn't say anything.
Civil would sort of look over at you and say, is everything all right? You just remain quiet.
To the next spot. Yeah.
All right. And he gets up and he says, it was good to see you, friend. And the bartender gives him a polite bow and says, you're generous as always with your tips. And he nods and says, of course. And he kind of starts leading you all deeper into the market, unless anyone's doing anything.
Is Nyara Frost drinking a thing right now? At the bar?
She is not. She is just talking to those three people.
Okay.
So you're following him deeper into the marketplace. He leads you over to the hallway, where you would see another individual kind of guarding one of the doors. As he walks up, the guy nods and allows him to pass, allowing you all to go as well.
Was our guide currently the one that gave us the information about my torture, the one who's in the Vidian army? Sorry, what
Yes,
was her
but
name
I'm
again?
not sure if you heard. I'm not sure if you heard that while you were playing dice. He told
Fair
that
enough.
to Lark.
No, I definitely didn't.
But
Okay.
yes, it was him. So he would lead you into a back area where you see a couple of figures who look over, and one of them says, he kind of exclaims, Civil? Huh. I was wondering if I'd see you. And Civil says, of course you'd see me. Did you think I had died? And he says, perhaps with everything that had happened, but then when Frost got back, I was wondering if you had been set free. And they walk up and kind of shake hands. Civil
What
says...
language?
This was all in Elven.
Okay.
So I think only one of you understood. But he switches to Common. Civil says, friends, this is my oldest friend, Meryl Laveris. And Meryl smiles and bows. He says, well met. He says, these people saved me from imprisonment, and I owe them. And he says, well then they are my friends as well. And he says, greetings. I was, as I said, with recent events and word that the fort had fallen, I was wondering if Civil would make an appearance again.
No, I don't know if I'd say it's fallen. It's just under new ownership. Speaking of which, we are here on a bit of business, you know? We're not, this is not our territory. However, we need one of you to take care of it. Do you think you can do that? I have so many things to do.
Take care of it.
With someone else, please. Uh,
He says, "Are you the ones that drove out the cultists then?" And Civil says, "Yes, they are."
Gets around.
Sorry, what did you say?
This was like word gets around.
He
Yes,
says,
I didn't
"Well,
didn't know we were famous at this point.
there was word that the fort had fallen. Actually, one of the prisoners, or not prisoners, one of the people hired by the cultists had come back with word that the Night Walker had killed everyone."
New ownership. New ownership. Just saying.
He says, "Who is this? Who is this new ownership under?"
I think it's quite under us and our allies until someone else can take over it. I'm quite busy. This is why we are here. We need you to take it and defend it so we can go about our business.
He looks to Civil, and Civil nods. He says, "Yes, apparently the fort is ours now." Um, and he says, "What about the Night Walker?" And he says, "Well, it was slain from what they had told me." And he says, "Wait, by who?" And he says, "By them." "How did you kill the Night Walker?" Meryl says with surprise.
It was quite simple, actually. We just poked it a bunch and then told it to walk into a portal.
He looks down at this tiny child.
Rudimentary. The child is right.
Well, this is a tale I think I'd like to hear. Do you all have time to tell me about what happened?
Insight check. Is he buying time? I do not trust it. 6.
It seems like he's just curious about what happened.
Remy's so ready to go. No, he's not. He's a spy. What am I talking about? Spies
He
don't
says,
lie.
I don't know if you heard, Civil, but Frost came back to town. And she basically has been telling members of the underworld what had transpired up there. But from what we heard, the Night Walker had killed everyone. Now you're saying you had killed the Night Walker, though. Well, not you, but these people. He says, well, when they released me from my prison, the Night Walker was no longer walking. So I'm guessing it's dead or gone. I don't know. I don't think they'd lie to me. He nods.
The the Nightwalker's absolutely gone. It didn't kill everybody. It just took care of a lot of cultists.
I
And
see.
we are kind of afraid that the cultists might come back to try to take back their little fort.
He says, wait, is Relic dead? Civil kind of says, I don't know actually, and he kind of they're all looking at the group now, like everyone in the room.
We
Was
all
Relic slain?
we all believe Relic escaped. He left his soldiers or his cultists to die in his place, and did the cowardly thing and took off.
And you said pretty
We
much
did not.
everybody in the room is looking at us.
Yeah, as you're speaking.
How many people are in here?
There are 5 Kai. There's Meryl, Civil, and 3 others who you don't recognize.
How are they geared?
So Civil looks like since he left you, he has picked up some gear. He has several daggers now. He has a long sword at his side, a spike chain. These guys as well have long swords, spike chains, and some long bows on their
Okay.
backs. All elven, all Shatterkai.
Meryl as well appears to be geared this way.
Yes, Merrill though also has he has his daggers and he has what looks like a rapier and a short sword on his belt.
Okay.
Dark steel. All of it's dark steel.
Remy will just say, "This is not our permanent home. You must understand, we're trying to do the best we can. However, we need your assistance."
And actually,
Um,
you would see that Adelaine looks very annoyed.
of course she does. Um,
Because everyone's like, no, we're not going to tell anyone. And as soon as they get here, we need you to take the fort.
well, that wasn't me. I wasn't the one that fucking said that we had to do that. So I'm picking up after that happened.
I don't
Also, it
actually.
seems
Let the
like the
record,
guys already knew about the fort.
That's
let the
true.
Yeah,
record,
it seemed that
They knew the
yeah.
Nightwalker killed
the gig was
everyone.
up.
They didn't know what
but they
happened
didn't
after
know,
that.
and they didn't know it was empty and available to be taken. So now that we've let them know that, you must understand, we did not leave it unfortified. We have friends that are watching it, powerful friends, you must understand. Obviously, we took it. We would not leave it abandoned. It had suitable fortification. Um,
So
we seek a partnership of sorts. Um, we need your assistance. We don't want it to be taken back over by the Shadowlords, but
so so Merrill looks a little bit. He kind of looks to some of his friends, looks to Sybil, then looks back to you. He says, "So you all defeated the Nightwalker. You say you drove it away somehow. Uh, who are you exactly? You're not cultists, obviously, and you're not with Relic. So what is your stake in all of this? Why were you there, and
I,
what do you hope to accomplish?"
I guess we are a bit of a team. I'm the newest or close to. And I looked at Adelaine, I looked at Lark, and I looked to Uslog, and I looked to Chauncey, and I'm just like kind of lost because he's not used to being a part, and kind of just, what are we?
Well, I'm Professor Noam Chomsky from the Noam Institute of Technology, and I'm here searching for new materials and crafting methods to publish in my book.
I see. And what's your relationship to the fort and to these cultists?
Oh, while I was wandering around searching, I got kidnapped and thrown in prison, and I didn't appreciate it, so I killed them all.
With the help of your allies here, I assume.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
And what of this larger one? What of this one? He says. He looks at you, Uslog. Who are you? And wait, you said your name is Noam Chomsky?
Yes, yes.
He
Professor Noam
says,
Chomsky.
so I'm assuming this child persona as some sort of disguise then?
No, us gnomes, we grow at a much, or well, no, it is not a persona.
He says, "Are you all in disguise?"
Of course not. Come with you. We are what you see. Look upon us. Look upon me. Look in my eyes.
Give me a deception check.
Happily. Yes, baby.
He says, well, so this is Noam Chomsky, and you said your name is. He looks to Uslog.
Urag.
Urag. And what's your stake in all of this?
Similar to Chomsky, I had some people I needed to free.
And you had to murder everyone within the fort to free them and defeat this night walker.
Yeah, exactly. Simple as that.
Interesting. And what about you, the one that talks a lot? What's your name? He looks at Remy.
Oh, I'm. You can just call me Remy.
And you as well? Were you some sort of prisoner there?
I will not lie to you. I came to observe this group right here. They were the ones who initially killed him. I am just a flea on the back of an amazing story. No, I came from the prime material plane, and I'm here because I owe them a great debt. They freed me, and now we seem to be bound of sorts, if you will.
Sorry, I'm looking something up real quick. So he would nod and he whispers something to one of his people. Actually, no, he's not going to whisper. He is going to. He is going to say in Thieves' Cant, which I think one of you actually would understand because you speak Elven and Thieves' Cant. He says,
Correct.
"Get Meryl in here."
Isn't Meryl?
Or sorry, not Meryl. Get get Reuven in here.
And this is the guy that we did not actually meet, right?
Yes, because you
Okay.
had a child, or he was a child when I thought he was not. And actually, we have an Adelaine, right?
We do.
We do.
Hey,
Why don't we, since we're at 7:30, why don't we take a quick 5-minute break? I'm gonna grab some caffeine, and you can kind of let her know what's been going on, and then we'll continue.
Sounds good.
All right, I'll be
Party.
back.
welcome, Adelaine. Glad you could join us.
You don't have to belabor it. I can kind of catch on as we go. I assume we're talking to the town elders.
We kind of
Okay. Wow. She's just ready to. She's coming out fighting. She's like, I got it.
What?
Yeah, I mean, no, actually, we're like talking to the unders. I'm just saying, we went down, not up. Whoa. And you were a little butthurt about it, but you went with it.
Yeah,
we went to talk to like the
We're-
thieves.
You were telling
Yeah.
them to go talk to the town elders. Instead, they went to the black market to talk to the midnight pyre.
All right. Well, that sounds
Correct.
like exactly how it would have gone if I was here. So all good.
Well, yeah, you definitely said that you didn't want to do that, but there was a convincing argument. It wasn't just that you folded. Uh, we don't know what the government structure is like here. We don't know if it's authoritarian. We don't know if it's democratic. We literally have
You
absolutely no
didn't
idea.
ask Shara, who grew up here?
She didn't fucking tell us.
Yes, she did.
She didn't tell us it was a democratic society.
Well, no, but
Sure
she
knew
I
it
mean,
was
told you about the
democratic.
government and how it works.
I don't remember that, and I don't remember anyone else bringing it up.
Cool.
I think we were just
Well,
more on a fact-finding mission and like looking for information and thoughts it would be best to lay low until we know about who's in charge. And we also need to get some pale coin.
I got some
Uh,
pale coin, um, but we also didn't want to immediately turn the fort over to the government because we
Well, we
don't
didn't want to turn it
like
over to anyone, but now, um,
I
right.
don't know. Have we turned it over yet?
no, I don't think so.
We have let the Thieves Guild know that it's kind of available. We
Kind of by
definitely did that.
accident.
Yeah, but we did it. We have to acknowledge what we did. We kind of did that.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
they
we
Um,
they
haven't
knew
turned it
that
over.
the Night Walker had taken control of it, but then the group told them that they had defeated the Night Walker.
did we
Yeah,
know what
they
like was that a?
something.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Nothing.
So
Do we
Frost,
know was that a previous outpost of like the city, or was that a previous outpost of like I don't know the government army, and then it got overtaken by the Shadowlord?
you don't know much about what the history of that place is,
Yeah.
but you would guess it might have. Well, actually, there's no way to know. It could have been a previous fort of the elves, or maybe they built it. The cultists.
But we found dwarven ruins.
Here.
Well, this structure down here is dwarven. Yes, this underground, this black market or shadow market looks like it was built
Gotcha.
by
All right.
dwarves.
Okay. I mean, she would have gone along with group consensus anyway.
I don't think we're doing anything too out of line.
No, but Adeline did sort of say we shouldn't tell anyone about the fort until we see everything, which is kind of no longer an option.
Yeah. We haven't tried to kill anyone.
Okay, I mean, every day that you all don't try to kill anyone is a good day.
Even though he was
Just,
tested, he was tested.
I was tested, and I resisted the testament of the devil. I did. I'm just saying that woman who got away, who was draining the bodies, who cut into my skin. I was within 5 feet of her, and I drew blood from my own palms before I hurt her because I'm a master spy, and I can never break character. So we left, but she's here, and we will fucking get her. I'm just saying.
Yeah, she was the one that told the people in the underworld about the Nightwalker having destroyed or killed people in the fort. Is what we were told.
Did she know? Did she know that the Nightwalker had died? I don't remember if she said that.
I think just that it had attacked. I'm not sure.
We killed everybody in the fort.
Oh, yeah, she told him that.
Yeah,
Cool.
but she did not say anything about the Night Walker dying, I think.
Oh.
Hey, so I
But
resisted.
somehow they knew that. Somehow they did know that the Night Walker wasn't there, I think.
Okay.
All right, so let's do some fucking espionage.
My specialty.
Are you proficient in intimidation?
Yes, but I'm not very good at it.
I got performance, baby. All right. So, forgive me. Where are we at currently?
We are in the caves of New Havensguard.
No. I mean, like specifically, we just finished our conversation.
Yes.
Are we in the
Oh, I
Thieves
was.
Guild area? Sorry.
So, Merrill was asking you to tell him what happened at the fort. And you're in one of the back rooms in the Shadow Market right now with Merrill, Civil, and a bunch of their Midnight Pyre people.
The guy that Merrill spoke to and told him to go get Revan or whatever his name is. The, did a guy
Ruvain.
then leave? What was that?
Ruvain?
Ruvain, yeah. Did a guy then leave the room to
Yes.
apparently
So,
accomplish that? Okay.
one of their people went through a back door.
Okay. And that back door is easily visible from where I'm standing.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
you just saw him, and you would also see that he said something to this guy, and this guy walked out. And then he would ask you to tell him exactly what happened at the fort.
Guys, what are we asking
Remy,
these folks for? Just what's our objective in talking to them? Just so I can. I know you said
I
fact-finding mission, but is there something in particular we came in here to accomplish?
We need coin.
well,
Too.
Well, no. So okay, so we need someone to come be an ally. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that, but be an ally with us and go take over the fort. And so we were debating between whether we go to the Thieves Guild, basically, or if we go to the central government. And the idea was, is we were gonna look around the town. We looked around the town. We got to like a general like goods dispersal.
I just wondered what the objective was in this conversation. So, what are we
I
trying
I
to
think it's
get from them?
I think it's quests.
Uh, that's a good question. What are we trying to get from them? Because we have the fort to offer. Um,
Maybe
I
Well,
maybe
was
you
more,
originally came down here just to talk to them, but things
yes.
kind of shifted a little because now it's been revealed that the fort is that the fort has been abandoned. The Night Walker has been destroyed, and I think someone even said we want you to take the fort for us. I think that
Yeah,
was
Remy.
Remy,
Remy did say that. Yep.
which they kind of nodded. And that's when Merrill said, that's when Merrill sent one of his guys out of the room and asked you all to tell him the whole story of what happened. And that's where we're at now.
Okay, but the group didn't come down here saying like, let's get them to
Correct.
help us defeat the Shadowlord or introduce us to the town. Okay, all right.
No, in fact, these people seem to be one of the more shadowy aspects of the town. Like, most likely they would be arrested if the town knew about them. You would guess. Because you are in some kind of black market area.
Yeah. Hmm.
So, do you want to tell them the story and who's telling them? Or do you want to say something else?
I don't mind actually telling the story really quickly. It's truly not very, very interesting, honestly. Basically, I'm, uh,
And
uh,
you don't have to
oh,
tell them the whole story. You can just say you're telling them
cool.
basically what happened.
So I tell them, I deceive them a little bit. I don't necessarily give them too much direct information about each of ourselves individually. I leave us obscure. If they try to like identify us, I deceive them. But I give them the general core of what happened, but I don't want to give anyone away.
All right,
Like
so
no, if they ask actual names like Adelaine, like Lady, whatever you've been being called, sometimes that would not come up.
well, you've identified yourself as Remy already, right?
Mm.
Uslag, I
Yeah, that's
think,
fine, but
used a fake name. Noam
Yeah.
Chomsky used his real
Barack.
name. Lark, I don't think they've asked you your name yet.
They have not.
So I guess would you be using your fake name, Lark, or your real name,
I would be using the name Rail.
Rail? And what about Adeline?
I would probably introduce myself as Ada.
Ada. All right. So Remy starts going into the story. You're leaving out
Mm.
why you were there. You said
Uh, no, I'll tell them
that you were
I won't
captured.
distinguish why I was there. I won't. Yeah, I won't distinguish why I was there
What
versus they weren't
about
there.
your spy work? Are you including that, or are you just saying that you were taken prisoner and not giving a reason?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, Merrill listens intently. While he is listening, another individual comes into the room, along with the guy he sent away, who sits down and begins to listen as well. You go through the story. Merrill would nod, and he says, "So all of you were prisoners of some sort, and this friend of yours." And I don't think we gave her a fake name, so I'm going to say Quince. This friend of yours infiltrated and was able to take down the defenses that was keeping the Nightwalker at bay. And she nods and smiles and says, "It wasn't easy, but yes." He says, "Huh. Interesting tactic, though a bit suicidal. I'm surprised you all survived." So, I do, of course, appreciate that you were able to free Civil here. How is it that we can help all of you at this point? You wish us to take this fort from you and position our people in it?
No, I think what we're really looking for is help with a much bigger problem.
What's that?
How much do you know about Shadowlords?
He says, "I've heard the tales spun by the cultists. As far as I know, the Shadow Lords have been safely defeated, haven't they? Trapped, destroyed?"
Defeated, perhaps, but in a battle, not a war.
Where are you all from again? You told me you were prisoners. I'm starting to think you're not from around here.
So, we were prisoners, yes. The warden of the prison, Arden Relic, is a devotee of Malik, and we're given to understand from his minions that he is trying to help the Shadow Lord reconstitute himself here in the Shadowfell after he was defeated in the Prime Material Plane.
Wait, the Shadow Lord was defeated in the Prime Material Plane. I thought he was trapped there.
Was trapped there, and then he freed himself and created quite a bit of havoc and was defeated.
And I'm assuming you all are from the Prime Material Plane. Or at least
It's really
some of you.
relevant where we're from, to be honest. The bigger problem here is that you've got a Shadow Lord trying to reconstitute himself in your backyard.
So Meryl looks at this new figure who entered the room. Actually, let me give you a picture of him. So where is he? Yeah, so he says, well, they are definitely from the prime material plane. I'm curious how you all know about this Shadowlord and what you know about his defeat and reconstitution. From as my friend here, Merrill said, from what we had discerned, he was trapped in your world many thousands of years ago, and for the most part, his people have been wiped out. I think there were only a few left, but I thought they had both been taken care of. So you're saying that he's escaped and has now returned to the Shadowfell?
I'm gonna look over to Uslog, and then to Lark, to get a little backup here in telling this story.
I'm having a hard time deciding like what we should tell him and not.
I actually wasn't there for it, so.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if he asked.
So he says, maybe I should give some information to you first. You don't know us, and obviously this place might seem a bit shady to you, so I don't fault you for being hesitant to speak with us. Civil, what have you told them of the Midnight Pyre? He says, well, not too much. It's generally, I feel it's better not to give away too much information about our organization. And he says, yeah, that's probably smart. I will say this. The Midnight Pyre has existed for, well, I mean, we've existed for a long time, and our primary goal has been the preservation of the balance of powers within the shadows of both the Shadowfell and the Feywild. He says we have agents in both worlds, and are you familiar with the Order of the Red Wizard?
Are we?
I don't think so.
Remy.
That would be a history check with disadvantage if you have history trained. Oh.
Hot damn.
So, Lark, you may have heard rumors when he says that name of an organization that. Actually, I don't know if I should give you that info even with a 19. Alright, you know what? Let's just say you haven't heard of them. Sorry, I made you roll. So yeah, no, you probably haven't heard of them. He says the Order of the Red Wizard is a group that existed before the Shadowlords, and basically is part of the organization, or is an organization that the Shadowlords belong to. It's a group of very old beings that they've existed for a long time, mostly in secret, and we are their counterbalance in many of these realms. He says, while we do have people in shady places, our aims are just, I assure you.
Does he seem earnest when he says this, or does it seem like a...
You can give me an insight. That's fine. Yeah, he seems like he's telling the truth. You might get the sense, Adeline, that as usual, he's probably not telling you everything, though.
Okay.
Is he within 30 feet of me?
Yeah, you're all sitting around this room.
I'll use a bonus action and connect a mental connection to him and just say, if it's knowledge. No, that's not what I'll say. I'll just say, I have skills that may be of value to you, and just look over at him. That's it.
He would look back at you and respond, I would very much like to hear of these skills then. And then kind of look back at the group and say, we are allies, is what I mean to say in all this. We have fought against the forces of the Shadowlord and the Red Wizard before them. And this
And it
is a
sounds,
battle that has been going on for a long time.
it sounds as if our interests are in alignment then.
He says, yes, it sounds like they are. Especially if what you say is true and the Shadow Lord has been defeated and is reconstituting in the Shadow Realm. That we were not aware of. We did not know that his prison had been disturbed. When did this happen? And how did this happen? I feel like I'm just asking you all for story after story, but apparently you all have done quite a bit.
His defeat took place about a week or so ago, I think. That's right? About a week?
Has it been that short? I thought it's been a couple of weeks to a month.
It's been pretty short. We've only been in the Shadowfell for like 5 days, and before that was only
Yeah, and we only waited 2 days for the magic crafting. That's really what we waited for. It's like 3 or 4 days.
and we were in the prison for like 2 days, and then we traveled around for one. So, and then we had like maybe 2 days in town between when we killed Malik and came here.
Was this the first thing that happened after you defeated Malik?
Yeah.
It was them
Think so.
coming and doing retribution? There weren't any other side quests that happened?
No, that's right, Carly? We went back to town and browsed, did some gardening, and
Had a nice boring time.
Yeah,
It
I
was
mean,
great.
Okay. I for some reason thought there was other things that had happened, but I might be thinking of a different game. All right.
I mean, it was probably a few months ago in real
no,
time. But
yeah, I mean, real time it was a long time ago. But this group always moved a little bit slow, so yeah.
All right. So he says a week. All right, good. So it hasn't been too long. He looks to two of the members and he says, we need to send word south of this immediately. Get your things together and get going as soon as possible. And they nod.
If I might, part of the key to this might be trying to locate and question Arden Relic, because he seemed to be somehow employed in trying to facilitate that return, and he is at large.
Do you know where he is?
No. He departed shortly before the Nightwalker took the fort.
He says, well, until you just told me of the Shadow Lord's defeat, Relic was our biggest target, but I'm guessing he's gone to help. Which Shadow Lord exactly was defeated?
Malik.
Or actually, he says you call him Malik. It wasn't Gaivok?
Well, Gaivok was involved in a way. Yes?
So
As you look at the headline, like,
he says, who is...
What do you know of Gaivok?
So I guess before you called him Shadow Lord, but now that you say Malik...
No, I did say Malik earlier.
Okay. So if you said Malik, he would seem confused and say, who is Malik? Gaivok is the Shadow Lord. I'm not familiar with this Malik.
Remind me, Lou, because I'm not really very bright and I'm tired.
I'm pretty tired
Is
myself.
Gaivok the master and Malik the student, or vice
So
versa?
Gaivok was imprisoned last cycle, and Malik kind of grew in secret, continuing the work and becoming... Well, you didn't know exactly what he did, but apparently he had somehow gained the powers of the Shadow Lord. But yeah, he was originally the apprentice of Guyvok. So
Okay, so I would say we did cross paths with Gaivok. He in fact I don't want to say allied with us, but he joined forces and forms in fact with one of our number. So he was a bit of a passenger on our journey that we did not trust him trying to defeat and stop Malik.
who did he
But
join with? He suddenly says, interrupting you. This was Malik who did this, or Guyvok, you said.
Gaivok, yes, a member of our party. He's no longer joined to him.
He assimilated this person.
In a manner
So,
of speaking, I don't understand it. To be quite honest, it was a bit above my level of expertise in these things.
so he took control of one of your allies and used him as a vessel.
No, they shared control.
How is that possible?
I don't know, but I do know that our friend was able to keep him at bay. He didn't have total control, and he did seem to have his interest aligned with ours in the sense that he wanted to defeat Malik as well. Whether that was to supersede him,
So,
then I don't know.
so Meryl looks curiously. Meryl and Sybil both kind of turn to the mysterious figure, and he says, I thought if a Shadow Lord co opted someone, they would lose control. And the mysterious Shadowkai says that's not always the case. Is so this person, the mysterious Shadowkai says, this person who he co-opted, you say he was able to still have autonomy. He wasn't possessed.
Uh, yes, as far as we know.
Do I know anything about this sort of magic?
You probably wouldn't. This might all be a little
Okay,
confusing to most of you.
cool.
He says, all right, so sorry I interrupted you. What were you saying? I'm trying to think in like three different brains right now of the different Midnight Pyre members. So what was Adeline saying?
I just said I answered the question.
We're not sure what sort of magic allowed uh, him to be co-opted with and not taken over.
All right, so you're telling me that this Malik also possessed the powers of a Shadow Lord.
Yes, that is true, and was a bit more dangerous and ambitious than Gaivak for all that we could tell.
But
He,
but you were able to defeat him.
yes, and
Sense.
Gaivak also fled.
And Civil says that means he went back to the Shadowfell. And Meryl nods. And you said Guyvok, was he killed as well? The vessel, I mean?
No one was killed as far as we know. Rune, or our wizard that was with us, seemed to think that they were just turned into a different form and returned to the Shadowfell, but we weren't aware that they could reconstitute. It seems to me that Rune said, and I'll look at Uslag, did Rune tell us that they needed to be defeated here?
I don't know. I don't understand half the things Rune says.
Huslag just looks confused. What's going on? So he says, yes, if a Shadow Lord is defeated outside the Shadowfell, their essence does return here to reconstitute.
All we do know is that Arden Relic is in service of Malik. We don't know where Gaivok is or what his aims are. And we have reason to think he's probably every bit as dangerous, but perhaps not as urgent.
This is a lot of information you're giving us. I appreciate that. Apparently, we were more in the dark than we thought.
No pun intended.
Well, as for your fort and the cultists, we would be happy to send agents there to help you hold on to it. It'll just
Well, we
take
had
us.
intended to perhaps speak with the authorities here in town. Is there a reason that we shouldn't do that?
He says the government could probably be of help to you as well. I don't see a reason why you wouldn't want to speak to them. They will most likely send soldiers to commandeer the fort if you talk to them. So you will probably lose any chance of keeping the fort for yourself or for our cause, which is fine with us. We don't necessarily need the fort, but we would
I
like
looked
to.
really surprised at that. And don't think we had any intention of staying in the fort or in the Shadowfell. To be honest with you, I believe our aim is to go home to our own plane, but we don't want to leave danger at large here that could later threaten us, if that makes sense.
Well, sorry, one sec. So
And I'm looking at the rest of the group there because, like, is there...
Quinn says I kind of wanted to keep the fort, but I guess Zeris and I. Actually, now that we've met all of you, do you think my friend and I could talk to you more? I'm interested in pursuing the Shadowlord here and finding out more. And he says, yes, we can speak more. A bit later, though. There's a lot we have to do right now. In fact, I would say that you should probably speak to the government and have them send people to claim the fort. I have to get the word out of what's been going on. Is there anything else you needed from us? He says, if you decide that you don't want to give the fort to the government, we can send agents to hold it for you. But it.
Do you think you will be able to hold it?
He says we have enough people that we probably could, though. We would probably tap into our allies as well. There are many factions that would stand against the Shadowlord, especially now that we know that he's been slain and has returned here.
Do you have any reason to think that the government isn't also allied with that cause?
He says no. The Empire, the Vidian Empire, is as well against the cultists. The problem is there is a chance that their ranks have been infiltrated by some of Relic's people. So that would be my only reservation.
Personally, I like the idea of having a home base here if we ever have to come back. And if we give it over to the government, we'll never get it back. I like the idea of you holding it for us, as we are the ones who liberated it.
Adeline makes a face.
Uslag shrugs. She's like, I don't care as long as the cultists don't get it.
He says, but you said you just want to get back to the prime material plane at this point. Is that correct?
And so because Remy said that, Adeline's going to look around and be like, well, that's my aim, but perhaps not all of us feel the same.
He says, I must admit, I am really curious about your group now, especially if you were able to stand toe-to-toe with not only a Nightwalker, but the Shadow Lord's reincarnation himself, and you were able to defeat him. That's quite impressive. What did you say your group's name was?
Well, we I looked at Adeline. I was like, a couple of us are part of a group called the Foxgloves.
Foxgloves. This as well. It's as I said, it's quite impressive what you were able to do. why don't you all rest for now? We have accommodations within the shadow market you can use. Accommodations, he says. We have to get some information out on what's happened. Uh, Luckily, it's only been a week, but even a week is a lot of time for the forces of Gaivok or the Shadow Lords to put their plans into action, especially if he is returned here. So, if there's nothing else, why don't we recess for now?
Could you, before you go, tell us a little bit about the government here and who we might speak with that you believe would be trustworthy?
This is, well, who would we speak with? I have a friend, her name is Lyre Krizhev. If you go to the Temple of the Shadow, or Temple of the Raven Queen, you should ask for her. Tell her what's happened, and she can probably handle it. If you want to go that route, as I said, the fort will probably just be turned over to the Empire, which is fine with us. It would be less work for us to have to worry about it. But if you do wish to keep it in your possession, we can handle that.
When you guys had started this conversation with them, did you tell them about the 30-odd prisoners that are there?
No, they have not.
Nope. Yeah.
There's a bit of a wrinkle in that there are some Shadowkai that were taken into custody there, and they will need to be dealt with fairly, one hopes.
He says cultists.
Hamburgers are just meat cookies.
Oh. Well, the cultists should probably be put down. Followers of the Shadowlord are dangerous to keep alive. We can take care of that when we get there, if you wish us to hold the fort for you. I would suggest...
Vote at the beginning.
He says, I would suggest to have them executed as soon as possible.
I do thank you for your offer of assistance, and we'll certainly be back in touch with you one way or another to let you know, but I do think that we should go through official channels on this and not necessarily take frontier justice into our own hands.
He nods and says, "It's dangerous to leave cultists alive, but I can understand that way of thinking. I will have Civil. Why don't you show them to some quarters they can use for the time being?" And if you want to go through official channels, as I said, make sure you speak with Lyre. I wouldn't trust many of the members of the church. There are possible spies among them.
Sorry, and that was Lyre. What was the last name?
Krizjev. Lyrei. Lyre, KRISJYV. He says she is a trustworthy member of the church and of the town government.
Huh?
Yeah. And with that, Meryl and Civil would probably lead you out as a bunch of them go off in different directions. So yeah, they would bring you to kind of a pretty nice looking area off to the side where there are quarters set up with beds and places to bathe and relax. What does the group want to do?
This is their headquarters?
You would guess, or maybe just a place within the shadow market that they own.
Okay. Is it
But
fairly private, or is it like out in
so
like a?
there are servants there, but the area is pretty private. The servants are basically there to bring you what you need. You get the feeling that this is maybe someplace that is paid for and not necessarily theirs. More of like some kind of underground hotel almost.
Okay.
Should we warn them about our once we're alone? I would say, should we warn them about? She just like gestures to her disguise. Have we gotten that cleared up yet?
I think we have about 38 minutes left. We may want to
I'm a
retire for
little
the evening.
alarmed when we look different in the morning.
Yes. I can always do it again. Remember what you look like. Yeah.
That might be wise, Rennie.
Okay.
So yes, let's not maybe overstay our welcome. I would hate for any of us to be discovered or have the illusion fall.
Did Lark? Did you recircle with us with your conversation with that woman when we first came in, who saw through the illusion? Did we have a conversation about that?
We did. So, I forgot her name already, but she is part of an organization, a different one from this one. That one is called the Silver Circle, I think.
Silent.
Silent Circle.
Ruvain Severus
No, that's the guy that we just spoke
or
to down here.
Meryl
Nope,
Lovaros.
Oh, that's here.
neither of
Met
those.
a lot of people.
Yep, neither of those. Yeah, it's called the Silent Circle, and it is also sort of a clandestine organization. She had also offered to introduce us to the black markets, and we were on our way to reconvene with her when we stumbled upon Sybil, and then he was like, "Huh, interesting that you should mention the black markets. How do you know about those? Anyway, let's go." So she is another available point of contact, but we have not utilized her yet, and have also not met with this Silent Circle.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, what do you all want to do now that you're kind of by
What
yourselves?
time of day is it, Lou?
It is about probably about 2 in the afternoon at this point.
And we've determined that we cannot buy things here with just gold.
So it seems like this is almost some sort of, at least up above, it's some sort of like socialist thing where you have certain amount of. I mean, you didn't really talk to the government yet on how trading works, but from what your druid friend told you, the government gives you some sort of rationing, and you can get supplies if you're a citizen. She mentioned that if you're not a citizen, that there's like a basic amount of food you can get, but other than that, you have to trade if you're not a citizen.
What about shadow market?
The shadow market is an illegal place where lots of different trading goes on that is not sanctioned by the government, and they use
Didn't you
pale
say
coin.
something about- Okay, pale coin. So, is there like a pale coin? Key?
So Emira, the Silent Circle woman who you originally spoke with, said that she could possibly make something work for you, but all the merchants down there didn't seem interested in gold. I guess you could ask someone about it, but no one's really asked anyone yet.
Except for Chomsky.
Certainly, yeah. No, Chomsky attempted to.
Chomsky, yeah,
And they were like, "You're fucking
Chomsky,
8 years old, pound
yeah.
sand."
Who's this like little kid walking around trying to trade with the black market? Because he looked like a 10-year-old. So yeah.
Yeah, Remy does have some pale coins, but you may not know that. He did spend some time over at the gambling dice area.
I think he has 5 specifically.
15.
Didn't you win 10 and lose 3 and then lose 2?
I won 20 and then lost
Oh, it was 20. Okay.
That many.
Yeah, I think you
and
lost
lost a
5.
total of 5. I
So
lost a
yeah.
total of 5. Yeah, so I'm down to 15.
yeah.
Well, we could try to follow up with the woman that you met, Lark, or we could go to see the government. I know you all have different feelings on this, and I would like to get a sense of where we all stand. I think you all know where I stand. But perhaps this is not the place to have that conversation.
Perhaps.
So
I'm assuming the walls have ears around here.
there are servants
think that-
around here as well, but you can ask them to leave. They're basically just here to bring you anything you
I'm
need.
sure they wouldn't leave and then go into the wall and listen in.
That's true. They might. So
I mean, it's not like it's a thieves guild or anything.
yeah. So Shara would say, I think the government is trustworthy. I don't see why we couldn't. I mean, even if they do have spies within the government, I don't see those spies being able to take back the fort if they put a bunch of soldiers in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's yeah. I mean, I have no. I guess I'm not part of the Foxgloves, but I feel like it would be safer if it was just given back to the state. I don't know who these Midnight Pyre people are. I've never heard of this organization.
I'm sorry, who was that? Shara talk?
Yeah,
Was that Shara talking?
this is Shara. Yeah. Quinn seems sad that she might lose the fort, but she also seems kind of interested in this new organization as a contact.
I would feel more comfortable knowing a bit more about who to talk to here. Do you think we should maybe triangulate what we just heard with your contact, Lark? I could do a locate spell to see if she's in the area.
How long were we down there? Or have we been down?
You've been down here a couple of hours now.
Okay. I'll say. I think certainly we could benefit from making contact with this individual once more. I don't know that we need to necessarily invest magic into doing so. If we find her tomorrow out by the gate or so, then we wouldn't have needed to. I suppose there's no harm in casting a spell anyway, but certainly I do think, yes, we stand to benefit from having as many contacts as possible so that we have as much information as we can have.
And to see if all the stories align.
Quite right.
All right, so you casting locate person or
I mean, I'll look to the rest of the group to make sure everybody's on board with that plan.
Usag would nod.
Sounds like a much better plan than I came up with.
What was your plan?
Oh, I didn't have one.
I suppose it would be then by default.
he was
Hold on.
looking into some crafting, but unfortunately he
yes.
still likes a little. Unfortunately, he still looks like a little kid.
People
it's-
don't trust kids with hammers and hot metal.
No one's taking him
Yeah.
seriously.
Yours sounds better than just knocking on the front door. He may not even be there, to be honest.
All right, so you cast locate creature, saying the name of the woman from the market. You don't sense her within 1,000 feet, though.
Okay.
At least not at this time. Now the spell does last an hour, so
It does. So she's
You want to
not-
go on a walk?
Yeah. Like, how big is this whole settlement? More than 1,000 feet?
the settlement is
Looks like it's about 2,000 feet
Yeah.
by
So
2,000 feet.
yeah.
She's not-
Well, and we're also I think we're also underground.
You are underground, yeah.
She's not in this
Oh.
general area, but perhaps if we were to go back closer to where we met her to begin with.
Alright, so you want to
Yeah,
go...
and I bet
Around
surface
town?
would help too. Because
Well-
I know magic can have problems passing through rock and dirt.
Maybe your kind of magic.
Well, shall we head back to the surface then and look around town for her?
Yeah.
Um, how many hours do you think we have left on the seeming spell? It lasts 8 hours, and we did it before we walked into the city.
So let's see. That was probably in the morning.
Did you
It's
put it in
probably
the chart?
it's probably been yeah. Did you mark it on the effects by
I
chance?
cast aid at 10 a.m.
Oh
And
no, I did not. That
Remy
was my first time
cast it
casting
at
it.
the same time that I did. So, because I cast it.
All right.
Hey,
So
yeah.
then it's probably about 4 hours old at this point. So you probably have another 4 hours.
Okay.
You should probably add that to the spell effects list there so you don't forget, because 4 hours could be 3.
Right, but I mean, we're in the group icon right now, right?
No. Go into
The
hourly
journal.
spell effects for party members. It's on the.
Yeah, it's in the journal.
Oh.
You can just edit
Um,
that.
I could also make us disappear for a little bit if we need.
It might be a little bit hard to talk to somebody if we're invisible.
That is true. That is true.
All right.
All right. So should we walk and talk then?
So on your way out, you would see at the entrance to this hotel, or basically like this underground inn area. You would see Civil there. He says, "Are you all done resting then?"
Oh,
Don't know that we had an intention of resting quite yet, Civil. We do have quite urgent business, obviously. We thought we'd go up to the surface and look around a bit.
He says, "Of course. Let me show you an easier way out." And he kind of motions for you to follow him.
Insight check.
Sure. Give me an insight check.
Motherfucking natural 20 for a 21, because what? Remy.
Doesn't seem like he has ill intent. He says, "I was
All
asked by my organization to be a contact to you for now. If all the information you gave us is true, then we might need your help in the future."
That was a natural 20 and then a natural 1.
Christmas. So he leads you kind of deeper into this underground area and brings you up some stairs where you come out into a forest. And actually, at this point, Adelaine, you start to get a ping from somewhere to the west for your locate creature. You know the
Okay.
direction.
I think we need to wander off that direction. I'll say in a low voice to, let's assume Gnome and Lark are near me.
I'm following.
Remy was talking with.
All right. So, are you going to say anything to Civil? Because he's just
Is he
following
saying-
you.
He's following us, or he's leading?
Well, he led you to the exit. At this point, he was just going to follow you. Because he was going to stay with the group for now.
He was?
That's what he said.
Okay, well, we need to lose that tail.
But we could just ask him for a little privacy.
All right, what do you say to him?
Do you mind giving us some space to explore the area for ourselves?
To walk around town?
Yes, yes. Just want to stretch my short little legs.
Shara's still with us, right?
Yeah, Shara's with you.
I'm sure Shara can see us safely around, and I'm sure you've got business to do, having been in prison for so long. I'm sure there are people that you need to catch up with.
He says, were you going to go and speak with Lyre?
We will do eventually,
Or
but
sorry, I think her name is pronounced Lyre. E-I.
okay.
Yeah, Lyre.
Do you know where we could locate her?
Well, she's most likely at the temple. That's where the government officials usually are. If she's not there, I would ask, and they can probably tell you where she's staying at the moment.
Right then, thank you. You've been super helpful, so we'll really appreciate it. We'll see you later on then.
Says, all right, we will be around, and he heads back down below. All right, so you're gonna go towards this contact.
Yeah.
So as you're moving this way, you think she is heading west.
Aren't we headed west?
Yes, but she's moving further west, I mean, away from you. That's what your spell is telling you.
Okay. You might want to pick up the pace a bit.
So yeah, it's pretty much always dark here. There's, as I said, a little bit of light coming from the lanterns, and some light sources being carried around by the Shadowkai of the town. A few people, as they walk past you, greet you, say hello, and seem polite enough. As you come this way, you see another one of those houses where supplies are being given out, although this one has a much larger line, and this whole street is kind of filled with Shadowkai who are waiting in line.
Like Soviet Shadowfell.
Yeah. But you think you're getting close to your target. You get a sense that she's around here.
I will say so.
Go ahead.
Sorry, can I burn it's just a bonus action converting a spell slot to sorcery points.
Yeah, that's fine. So you spend a sorcery point to get spell slot. And what were you
Wait,
saying?
I do the opposite.
Or sorry, yeah. Wait, you're spending a spell to get a sorcery point? Psionic sorcery.
Yes.
Okay. And what were you saying, Adeline?
Oh, I said I say so.
Alright, so as you approach the street, Lark, you would recognize the woman from before, speaking with five other individuals over kind of this way. You think she looks over, noticing you approach. What do you all want to do?
These other 5 individuals, are they also Shadowkai?
Yes. Pretty much,
Okay.
like 99% of the people you've seen here are Shadowkai.
Perfect. I assumed so. I just wanted to verify. Do they appear like lightly armed and armored, as has been the norm so far?
Yes. They all seem to have weaponry and armor.
Okay.
And they are walking towards us
Currently,
in an
they're
aggressive
just
manner.
no. Currently, they're just standing there talking.
All right, let's keep walking by. My personal opinion.
All right. So as you approach, you get closer. They all sort of go quiet, and she would look over at you and say, "Rail, it's good to see you again."
It's good to see you as well. I hope that the day has been kind to you over the last few hours. I was hoping perhaps I could make more proper introductions of my friends here.
She says, yes, the day has been kind, a bit interesting, actually. There's some strange rumors of happenings. Actually, now you told her you came from the north, didn't you?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
And she would actually say, or she would say, actually, from the direction that you all came from, strangely enough.
Ah, yes. I'm not surprised. It seems that rumors do in fact abound.
Are there any merit to these rumors that we're hearing?
Well, we will have to confirm what exactly your rumors are, and I can tell you whether or not they match the rumors that we've heard of. And at that time, yeah, perhaps also verify the veracity of them.
She says, fair enough. I'm hearing word of the fall of the fort that was previously guarded by dark beasts and cultists. Is this the rumor that you have heard as well?
It is.
And would you have something to do with this rumor?
We do.
She smiles. She says, I thought so. So, obviously, you've come back to me. Are you looking to go to the underground market, or is there something else you needed from me?
Well, truth be told, we've already had a bit of an introduction to such a market. However, I was hoping that we could, as I said, just perhaps sit down and have a polite conversation, get to know one another, you knowing us and us knowing you as well, and we can understand a little bit more about what it is that your organization does and how we might benefit one another.
Yeah, that sounds like it could be entertaining. Do you have time now, or are you on your way somewhere?
I believe that we do have time now.
All right. Why don't we head over there? And actually, we are past 8:30, so this might be a good time to call it and continue next time, if that works for everyone.
Works for me.
All right.
Cool.
Let's do some MVP votes, and we'll continue the conversation next time. Apologies if I was a little low energy tonight. I've been dealing with some headaches today.
It's all good.
So I got
Tired today.
Yeah, I was really tired today too. All right, so I think it's a three-way tie. So Chomsky. Well, I have 4 votes. Who am I missing?
Me, but I abstained.
Or no, there's the 5th vote. Never mind. With the 5th vote, Lark, you are MVP. Congrats.
Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, I had your abstain, but I was missing someone. Yeah, good job, everyone. And next week we will continue.
Yeah, I'll take care.
Take care.
Good night, y'all.
Night.
Later.
Good night, everyone.